Hey everybody, welcome back to Prescription Bourbon. I'm DMC from Louisville, Kentucky. Today I'm going to be doing a blind tasting of pretty much the entire Wild Turkey Bourbon Whiskey lineup. Alright, I'm going to jump right into the tasting here. I'll give a little bit of history on these bottles and on the distillery a little later in the video, but for now I'm going to jump right into tasting. I will call out what I have though before I do that. I have regular Wild Turkey 101. I have Kentucky Spirit, which is a single barrel, 101 proof also, so we got 201 proof offerings here. Got Russell's Reserve 10-year, Russell's Reserve single barrel, which is non-chill filtered and comes in at 110 proof. The Russell Reserve 10-year comes in at 90 proof, by the way. So, and then we've got Rare Breed straight bourbon whiskey, which is barrel proof and comes in at 116.8 proof. So, the one thing to note about all these are all the same mash bill. They're all the same distillate, so just different aging and different warehouses and all that come into play here. But they use Wild Turkey uses number 4 char barrel. Their mash bill is 75% corn, 13% rye, and 12% malted barley. So, 13% rye is a fairly low rye mash bill, which is surprising considering the Wild Turkey is known for being so hot and spicy. So, the one other thing to note is also that I do have one bottle missing from the actual full normal lineup of Wild Turkey bourbon, and that's the 81 proof bourbon. So, I've got the 101 proof bourbon here. They do have an 81 proof bourbon that I left out of this tasting. It's the same stuff, just lower proof, so more watered down basically. But yeah, let's go through. I'm going to call this glass A, and we'll call this B, C, D, E. And I'm going to go through, I'm going to give them a quick nose, because they're all, like I say, they're all the same mash bill, all the same distillate. So I don't expect much difference in the nose. I'll spend more time on the tasting, but I'm just going to go through and give them a real quick nose on A. All right, on A, I get a little bit of oak on the nose, but a little bit of a breadiness on that too, probably a rye bread. All right, B is more predominantly the rye bread, but a little bit more spice on B. I don't get the oak on B that I had on A. All right, C is a little sweeter, and more of a honey and spice nose on C. Possibly a little bit more alcohol, ethanol on that one also. All right, D's very similar to C. I'm getting that sweet aroma on it. Maybe a touch of vanilla on D. Glass E. Right, E's got the oak on it also. Maybe a tad bit of nuttiness. So, some slight differences there. I think predominantly there's some oak. There's definitely some rye spice on there. One of them came through with some baked breadiness. The other one's not so much. Some sweetness and all that. So, all right, go through and do the first round of tasting. Serving glass A. Cheers. All right, glass A. The front of the tongue had a little bit of sweetness. That gave way to some cinnamon spiciness, and then that spiciness really lingers. So it's a good medium long finish. You know, tad bit of oak in there too, so a nice oak. Definitely have oak on the nose. Now that I've got it on my palate and I've tasted it, you know, that oakiness is predominant on the nose. It's very nice. So, Class B a taste. Cheers. All right, Glass B. Similar to A, it has had some sweet up front. Didn't really have any spice mid palate. There was a little bit of spice wave. Some of that cinnamon spiciness came way late in the finish. It was a very short finish though, shorter than A for sure. Yeah, similar to A, but you know, different. Glass C, cheers. Alright, Glass C is definitely spicier. In the mid palate, spicier in the finish. Probably has a little bit more punch to it. Didn't have as much sweet up front though. It's evolving though. On the tail end of the finish, there might be a touch of fruitiness coming through. I definitely have oak on the palate, on the nose. That definitely have oak on the nose. Very nice, very nice oak on the nose. But the palate's less sweet on C. It was a little longer, spicier at the end, and possibly a little fruitiness there at the end, so too. So, Glass D, cheers. All right, Glass D was more sweet on the front. Had a good strong spiciness on the tongue in the mid and late, and there's absolutely some fruitiness coming through on the finish. And if anything, I would call it a juicy fruit gum. So not something I've gotten much of before in the past, I would say, but reminds me of a juicy fruit gum. So very nice. And Glass E, cheers. All right, this one has a little bit of what all the other ones had. It's got a lot of spice on the tail end here. My tongue's definitely cinnamon hot. Had some sweetness up front. Kind of a brown sugary sweetness. It went into cinnamon spice. Definitely some oakiness in there. Tiny bit drying on the tongue there as it finished. I could feel that astringent oak. But yeah, very pleasant, very pleasant. All right. So if anything, I'm gonna let these sit. I'm gonna go through and give you some history. Come back through and taste them again. But if anything, I think Glass C, D, and E here seem to be pulling ahead of A and B. A and B seem to be a little behind the pack. And C, D, and E, I think maybe the front runners here in the first round. Definitely seem to be more complex. Had more going on. And we'll see. All right, yeah. So go through and give you a little bit of history now. Wild Turkey is fascinating distillery. A lot of history. Probably more history than a lot of other distilleries in Kentucky. A lot of change. A lot of different names come into play here. But the the actual Wild Turkey brand name, originated. There was a grocer out of New York. There was actually a big national grocer. That was Austin Nichols and Company, and they, as a lot of grocers used to do, and you hear it a lot in Scotland with the scotches and stuff and all that, or over there. But they got into the liquor business and were blending and selling liquors, whiskeys in this case. Around 1940, there was an executive from Austin Nichols that took some whiskey right out of a barrel, took it on a hunting expedition down in the Carolinas, a turkey hunt, and the whole group down there loved it so much that turkey and that hunting expedition, they kept asking for it by name. Said, "Hey, we have some more of that Wild Turkey whiskey." So that became a brand for Austin Nichols. They eventually got out of the grocery market and became just a liquor company, and it became enough of a product for them that around 1971 they actually purchased the distillery in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, and renamed it the Austin Nichols Distillery. And it became the home of Wild Turkey. So before that, they had been sourcing some stuff from different distilleries. That particular distillery has a long storied history, going back to the Rippey Brothers, Anderson County Distillery. So eventually the Austin Nichols Distillery. Austin Nichols eventually sold the brand to Pernod Ricard, which is a French liquor distributor, in 1980, and Pernod Ricard owned it and brought it forward up until 2009 when they sold it to the Campari liquor company, which is Italian. So Campari owns it now. But a lot happened between 1980 and 2009. I mean, things like Kentucky Spirit were introduced, which is a single barrel in response to Blanton's out of the Ancient Age distillery. Things like the Russell's line was introduced, which was a shout out to Jimmy Russell, the master distiller there, since 1967. So they thought he might be retiring and all that, and he's still going. Obviously Eddie Russell, his son, I think is the main push behind the Russells now. But lot of history. Rare Breed, which was a cask strength, was introduced. And this was in response, and that was in the 90s, and that was in response to, Booker's out of Jim Beam. So, a lot of things happened in the industry in the 90s and early 2000s. I mean, after the lull of the 70s and 80s, some very welcome changes happened in the 90s and 2000s. So, and this is what we have today. So, some very interesting stuff. My bottle of Kentucky Spirit is obviously the feathered bottle, what they call the feathered bottle. Before that, there was the donut bottle. I mean, Kentucky Spirit was introduced in the early 90s, and it's gone through several bottle changes and stopper changes and whatnot. But this bottle was discontinued in 2019, early 2019. I bought this in mid 2019. And this particular bottle is from Warehouse A and bottled in March of 2018. So the new Kentucky Spirit bottles are the same bottle as the Rare Breed. So they just have a gold label on them. But there are still Kentucky Spirit bottles out there. They just have a different bottle. The Russell stuff, Russell Reserve 10 was introduced first. In the early 2000s, and it actually came out at 101 proof for 4 or 5 years. It was eventually dropped down to 90 proof, and the Russell's single barrel didn't come out till much later, 2012, 2014, something like that, at 110 proof. But like I say, the rare breed has been around at cask strength or barrel proof. It says on the label, barrel proof as it says on the label, since the 90s. But what's interesting about it is, Wild Turkey has changed their barrel entry proof, which is the proof that the distillate goes into the barrel over the years. So back in the 80s, the barrel entry proof was 107 proof, is what Wild Turkey went into the barrel at, so 107 proof. Sometime between 2002 and 2004, they changed that barrel entry proof to 110 proof, so it went up from 107 to 110. And then in 2006, they bumped it up to 115 proof, barrel entry proof, and that's where it is today. So, there's some, not a lot of age statement on the Wild Turkey products. Obviously, this Russell Reserve 10 years, the only one with an actual age statement. So this is 10-year-old barrels. Wild Turkey 101 was originally an age stated whiskey, 8-year age stated whiskey back in the 60s, 70s. It was eventually dropped. The age statement was, so now it's typically considered to be a 6 to 8 year old whiskey. The Kentucky Spirit, which is a single barrel, also the same proof, 101 proof, is thought to be maybe a little older, at least 8 years, possibly a little older. And you usually have the information on that when you do the barrel pick or when they do the barrel pick. So, like I say, Russell's 10 is 10 years. Russell's single barrel, this particular one, by the way, is 2018 bottling from Camp Nelson Warehouse F, Floor 5, selected by Kroger and Bruce Russell, personally selected by them. So this is a 2018 bottle, a couple years old. I was lucky enough to pick up 4 or 5 of these bottles. I found them on clearance at Kroger and stashed up on them. I think I've still got 2 unopened bottles, so I've been savoring this stuff. But this is rumored to be more along the 8 to 10 year age on the Russell single barrel. And then the rare breed, I think it's actually noted on their website that it's a mix of 6, 8, and 12 year bourbons, or barrels. So, it's 116.8 proof now and has been since I think 2017. Of other note is the distillery, changed to a brand new distillery in 2011. So now that we're in 2022 here, so things are now over 10 years old. Almost everything that's being bottled nowadays is from the new still. And there's been some note of some taste differences and stuff from the old still to the new still. And with these different ages of 6 or 8 or 10 or 12, this new distillate has been being introduced for the last 4 plus years. But now it's kind of all new distillate. I mean, surely there's some old distillate out there in the warehouses for sure. And who knows what they might release with that. But most of the shelf, the stuff on the shelf you're going to be finding these days is stuff from the new still, which opened in 2011. Rare breed, obviously, if it's a mix of 6, 8, and 12 year, it still has some oak distillate in it. But everything else should be from the new still. All right, there's our history of Wild Turkey. A lot of that I got from Rarebird 101, David Jennings. He has a website, rarebird101.com. He has merch like this. This shirt is his, Dark Side of the Glen shirt. It comes from his website. He's got a couple of books out there. American Spirit is out there already. He's got a new book coming out, scheduled for I think late this year, November, December. Wild Turkey Musings, I think is the name of it. So check out his website. Buy his book. He covers all this history and all that, and he's the the world's #1 Wild Turkey advocate out there, and documenting all this stuff and this amazing history. So, all right, let's go back through, give them another quick taste, and I'll let you know what my favorite is today. So we're going to go in reverse order, starting with Glass E. Got some caramel on the nose right then, out of the blue. Yeah, sweetness right up front. A lot of spice on that. Cinnamon spice is very lingering. Not much oak. It's more brown sugar, cinnamon, rye spice on that. So you can tell. I can tell it's hot. It's lingering. Very nice. Yeah, very nice. Do a quick rinse. I also want to let you know you can find me on Instagram at instagram.com/prescriptionbourbon. You can find me on Patreon at patreon.com/prescriptionbourbon. Both those sites you can find a little bit of extra content, certainly some extra discussions going on, talking about the bourbon industry as a whole, different releases, different things happening, and it's just some more exciting content happening there. I do have some extra videos, some polls, some different things happening there also. So check it out. All right, let's give Glass D a taste. All right, Glass D had a lot more sweetness than E. Had some oakiness that E did not have. A little drying on that oakiness, honestly. But yeah, the spice level is about the same. It's nice. It's lingering. It's there. Yeah, I'm gonna put E above D at the moment. All right, let's give a Glass C a taste. Yeah, C has very, very nice sweetness on it. It has a spice. It has a lot of dryiness, but I think that's a build-up from the previous ones, honestly. I have rinsed my palate, but it's got some fruities on the end. The other ones don't have. So C is certainly my front runner at the moment. Very, very nice. Glass B. Yeah, certainly lower proof on B. Good brown sugar taste on it, but very low spice. It's nice, but I'm trying to see where it fits in. All right, B and D are pretty close in the rankings here. Depends on what you're looking for. Something a little lighter, just sweet and easy to drink would be B. Something with a little bit more spice and kick to it would be D. So I'm gonna put D above B. And we'll go with A as our last check, as our last taste. Cheers. All right, A has some spice, probably more spice than B, but it also had some of that breadiness, some of that rye breadiness on the taste. It just seems super young, less mature for sure. I think we're gonna rank it last. So, wow, we'll see what I have here. But my rankings are A, B, D, E, C. So C is my first choice, and A is my fifth choice. Drum roll. Always scared at this point. What did I pick? What stood out? Do I trust my palate or not? So, but Class A in fifth place today for my palate is the Wild Turkey 101. So I know you can't see that, but 101. So standard Wild Turkey 101 is fifth place. No surprise there. It probably is the youngest one in the lineup on the table, and that's what it tasted like. Heavy on spice. Still delicious though. And these are all delicious. This is a spicy son of a bitch. It's just young. So, all right, Class B, my fourth place pick today. This is the Russell 10-year. So that's the lowest proof bottle. This is the 90 proofer. It is the only age stated one. It's 10 years old. Certainly older than the 101. Arguably older than some other ones here, but okay. So we got the Wild Turkey 101 and Russell's 10-year. Not a big surprise there. Third place. This is the Russell Small Single Barrel. So this is the Russell Single Barrel. That's a surprise to me. So this is 110 proof. This is the only one that's non-chill filtered. Yeah, surprise. It's a surprise only because Kentucky Spirit is still in the mix here. I mean, it's not a surprise. I mean, I expected, on my personal palate, I love rare breed. And a lot of people like Russell's Single Barrel better than rare breed. I personally like rare breed better than Russell's Single Barrel. So that's on par with what I expected. I love it. I'm very surprised, though, that the Kentucky Spirit is still in the mix. So very interesting. So, all right. Second place, Class E, is the rare breed. Son of a bitch. What? Rare breed. Highest proof one here. Comes in second place. And that means my winner today is the Kentucky Spirit. I have no idea how that happened. I mean, this is 101 proof. So it's obviously lower proof than these two. I think it's just more well-rounded. It's sweeter, but it has the spice. And I know these are specially selected. I don't know who's selecting them these days. Probably Eddie Russell. I'm not sure. I know Eddie selects most of the Russell's barrels that are not, actual barrel picks and all that. So I don't know what the deal is with the Kentucky Spirit, but wow, I'm surprised. This has a great nose on it, has a great taste, has a great finish. This is a strong finish for Kentucky Spirit. 101 proof, single barrel. Love it. I'm flabbergasted, honestly. But yeah, leave some comments down below. let me know how much I effed up. You know, what's your favorites? What do you prefer? You know, how shocked you are with this result. But remember, everybody, all bourbon is whiskey, but all whiskey is not bourbon. The best bourbon comes from Kentucky. The best whiskey is bourbon from America. Cheers.